Okay, guys, we're going to pick up where we left off on the lesson 2 notes with the percents and decimals. And we got to the back side and we were looking at these problems, and then we looked at the examples, and when it got down to the bottom, we were going to go over what those answers were. And so you've got 22%. Okay, and so 22%, they want us to write that. We're going to write that first as a fraction. And then they're wanting us to write it as a decimal. Well, because it has a denominator that's a power of 10, then we can just write it the way we would read it, 22 hundredths, because this is the tenths place and that's the hundredths place. And so that's how you write that percent as a decimal. And then for B, you've got 7%. So you would have 7 over 100, and it would be 7%. That would be 7 hundredths. Do not do this. That would be 7 tenths, because that's the tenths place. So that would be wrong. So that would be your 7 hundredths. And 93% would be 93 over 100, which would give you 93 hundredths as a decimal. Okay, hopefully that was super easy for you. Okay, now looking on page 367, we've got decimals as percents. So you've got useful information up here, and it's showing you how you've got your decimal, you write it as your fraction, and then you're able to write it as your percent. And that works really well when you're working with powers of 10. So this would be 29 over 100, which would be 29%. This would be 6 tenths. 6 tenths, you would have to make it into the denominator of 100, which would then give you 60%. So down here, we would have 81 hundredths, so that's 81 over 100, which would then give us 81%, because our denominator is 100. And the 73 hundredths would be 73 over 100, which would then give us 73%. And then the 55 hundredths would be 55 over 100, and that would give us 55%. Hope that's very helpful for you. Okay, then to go to page 368 at the top, Texas produces more beef than any other state, producing 2/10 of the total beef population. Express 2/10 as a percent. So if you write 2/10 as a decimal, couldn't you just add that 0 and have 20 hundredths? And then that would easily give you your percent. So right here, you've got same thing, 38 hundredths. So you would have 38 over 100, which is 38%. Okay. And if you notice, I haven't talked anything about moving the decimal to the left, to the right, any of that. And that's because I really kind of feel like this might be a little bit easier. Sometimes students get confused about, well, do I move it to the left? Do I move it to the right? So right here, we want to go from a percent to a decimal. And you see where it says examples 1 through 3? That means you can go back and you can look at examples 1 through 3 to help you if you don't remember how to do it. Percent as a decimal. So we're going to take that percent and put it over 100, right? And 37 hundredths looks just like that. Okay, so if you're going from a percent to a decimal, our first step would be to write your percent as a fraction. With 100 as the denominator. And then step 2 would be write your decimal. Okay. Those are what I call thinking steps. So be sure you write those down. Thinking steps would be steps that you can go back and use once you're doing it by yourself and you think, oh yeah, I knew how to do it in class, but now I don't remember what she said. Well, you've got those thinking steps to go back and read, and then that will be helpful for you. Now your 12%, remember I said take it, write it as a fraction with the denominator of 100, and then write it as a decimal. 12 hundredths. You see? 6 over 100 would be 6 hundredths. Okay? Now, your decimal as a percent, this is 3/10, isn't it? But we want our denominator to be 100, don't we? So 10 times 10 is 100. 3 times 10 would be 30. This would be 30%. Isn't that easy? 82 hundredths would be 82%. 51 hundredths would be 51%. Okay, and then right here, number 7, it says about 15 hundredths of the human body is bone. What percent is equivalent to 15 hundredths? Okay, wouldn't that be 15%? Absolutely. Okay, number 8, how can you generate equivalent forms of fractions, decimals, and percents that show equal parts of the same whole? Okay. So what they're wanting you to put there is they're wanting you to realize that if you think of the whole as 100 or hundredths, then percents compare a number to 100. So you can write a fraction with the denominator of 100, and you can write a decimal that goes to the hundredths place. Okay? So I want you to kind of put that into your own words there, and I will write, I'll write mine. Percents compare a number to 100. So I can write a fraction. Poor Norman wants somebody to play with him. That's why he's whining. I'm sorry, y'all. I can write a fraction with the denominator of 100. And I can write a decimal that goes to the hundredths place. Okay. Now, your homework assignment is page 369, 1 through 14. So I hope that was helpful for you, and I will see you guys later.